Good afternoon, Ghana, and today we'll turn our attention to maybe things that personally affect you in your own living or your life. And that has to do with ActionAid Ghana that shows some level of interest to your development, and that has to do with maybe social justice, equality, poverty alleviation, and stuff like that. For some years now, they have been with us in the country. I don't know the last time you heard about ActionAid, but let's have a chat with them and find out how far they have gone with their agenda in the country. Is it progressing or it's retrogressing? We'll talk more about that. Okay, so I happen to be joined in the studio by a gentleman that I think I'm familiar with by extension. Yes, because I am told that his wife is very familiar with me. I'm yet to meet her, but I'll meet her soon. So I'm talking in the person of Professor John Nko, and he's a country director for ActionAid Ghana.
Yep.
Right, you're welcome to Good Afternoon Ghana.
Thank you.
All right. Oh, your microphone is on. Okay, his mic is on, so please check your technical if you can't hear him. Okay. So you're welcome once again. And let me take you through a little bit of maybe ActionAid. Yeah. So ActionAid Ghana, AAG short called, is an affiliate of ActionAid, a global justice and federation working to achieve social justice, gender equality, poverty eradication, and so on. Now, AAG operates around 4 missions or priorities, and those are AAG has been operating in Ghana since AAG has been operating in Ghana since 1990 and have worked immensely to support people living with poverty through women led interventions. Now, on the 1st May, the board of directors of organization appointed John Nko as we have Nkoko also, yeah. I think. So, on May 1st, the board of directors of organization appointed Mr. John Nko as a new country director responsible for the coordination of the work and strengthening its partnership to ensure greater positive impact of program intervention on the lives and livelihoods of people living in poverty. Now, until his recent appointment, the country director, John Nko, served as a head of programs, campaigns, and innovation, and interim country director. He joined ActionAid Ghana in March 2019 as a head of programs and served as interim country director from September 2021 to April 2022. Well, so that's just a brief, I think I'll give you. I'll let him tell us the rest of the work of ActionAid Ghana so far. So you've been in office as a country director for how long now?
Beginning of this month.
You start beginning of this month?
Yes, as substantive country director, but I acted from September to April. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have read how when you first came into Ghana, I think 1992?
Yeah, 1990.
1990, rather.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've been working with the people and the government.
Yes.
What are some of the challenges ActionAid has encountered since they started working till now? And because they tried to eradicate poverty, but the people continue to be poorer.
Right.
I mean, ratings that come out always shows that we're getting poorer by the minute or by the period. So what challenges are you faced with that you're not able to lift us or make our lives better?
Right. You're starting on a very interesting note, and that's fine. So as you probably situated the context of this discussion, ActionAid is a people's movement, people-centered organization that has been in the country for pretty more than 30 years now. We have been implementing various country strategy papers, and that is the overarching country strategy for Ghana. And so far, we have implemented about 6 of them. Within this last safe one. We have been working in 4 key mission priority areas. And basically, we are working to promote sustainable agriculture and also help contribute towards the fight against climate change. In the second mission priority, we are working to address the issue of violence against women and also contribute towards the reduction of unpaid care work. We are also working systematically to contribute towards addressing issues in the area of promoting education, access to quality education, promoting gender-responsive education, advocating for increased public education financing, and then finally, we are working to contribute towards citizens' participation in public resource mobilization and accountability, if you like, civic participation. In doing so, we have been able to reach largely the unreached because we are working in the 11 out of the 16 current regions in Ghana. In terms of our work around promoting sustainable agriculture, we have been interested in promoting what we call agroecological practices, which in this case is centered around agricultural practices that does not or that minimally contribute towards climate change.
Right.
If you look at statistics across the world, climate change is becoming a topical issue because the vulnerabilities, the hazards of climate change is more and more visible. If you look at the sea more and more, you will see that the sea is eating up most of the hard lands.
I mean, consider the recent, what's it called, the tidal waves that we've been recording recently.
Exactly. That is one clear example that climate change is closer than us, more than we think. If you look at northern Ghana, we have issues of the perennial internecine flooding of the Upper East region as a result of the spillage of the Bagri Dam. That contributes towards destruction of a lot of livelihoods of the people living along the banks. And by the way, I'm from one of the districts in the Upper East region that face some of these challenges. And so we can go on and on.
I'm a little biased towards the people from that area.
Yes.
By the way.
That's fine. That sounds really most assuring. So, if you look at all that, it tells us that we need bold actions. And you recall that government have also been thinking around how to address that big problem of the regular annual spillage and the hazardous effects of all
Let's stay a little longer there.
Right.
The Bagri Dam spillage is a little unthinkable.
Right.
For so many years.
Right.
Every year it happens. We ask questions. So what? Nobody's thinking. We can't be creative around it. We can't do any developmental or take any developmental action that will reduce its impact.
Right.
Or even make use of the overflooding waters in the dam. I mean, what is it that you, for so many years that you have been, what has been your communication with government on this issue?
Fantastic. As far as that problem is concerned, one of the ways that ActionAid, and mind you, when you mentioned around how we are contributing towards the fight against poverty, you recognize that ActionAid has been implementing, if you like, models. Models. So, for example, one of the models is that we need more and more dams, particularly in the hard-to-reach areas, that show agricultural promise in terms of vegetable production, and especially in northern Ghana where we have one farming season. So ActionAid over the years have been involved in dam constructions in most of the communities. That is one single way that shows that if government embraces it, and that's why we call it a model, if government embraces it and expands it, then what that means is that it's going to create livelihood opportunities to many more people who are in the rural areas. And if you are conversant with economic analysis, if they stay there and engage in agricultural activities, they contribute towards the local economy and also help to reduce the pressure on employment, demands from government. They stay away from the urbanities, and that reduces the consequences of social, issues in the cities. And so that is one way to address the issue of poverty, and ActionAid has been in the forefront of doing that. Beyond that, we are also involved in supporting what we call female extension volunteers. And as we speak, for the last couple of years, we have trained about 1,000 of them. You have no idea what these women do.
You've trained 1,000 women who are
female extension volunteers.
Extension volunteers.
And they are equipped with agronomic practices.
Oh, agriculture
to support,
extension.
yes, agriculture extension volunteers.
Okay.
To support female smallholder farmers. And statistics show that many more women are involved in the fruit crop sector. And so that is one major way of supporting in that regard. In terms of the Bagre Dam, what have we been doing about that? You would remember that for the past couple of regimes, so you talk about NDC regime, then the current MPP, we have been engaging through the mechanism. With the NDC, it was called SADA.
Okay.
Under the NPP, it's called the NDA, Northern Development Authority. And by the way...
I mean, both organizations are always attracting controversies.
Yes. And by the way, what that means is that we have been advocating for a more sustainable intervention towards fighting the menace of the Bagre spillage. One of which the government has come out to say we need to expand that dam into a hydroelectric facility. Beyond that, the expansion will provide a more broader dam facility for what ActionAid has been doing at the macro level,
right,
which I mentioned. And so for us, we thought that the governments were becoming more responsive to the extent that this government took action to implement the framework or the plan that has been on the table. What is now a little bit worrying is that it's a little bit slow than we expected, because one would have expected that the work would have been advanced by this time, and farmers are getting mobilized.
When government adopts your modules, and that's not just the one that has to do with the dam, but any other module you introduce, at what percentage do you involve yourself in its implementation? So, because the originator of the idea is better off to implement it than the one who's copying.
Yeah, but government have responsibility in terms of the provision of services across that large to benefit all Ghanaians as citizens. Because government takes our taxes and has responsibility to ensure that there is right to food, for example, right to education. And so it's a legitimate exercise for government to take it up and expand it. Now, how does government involve us? The government involves us by ensuring that we have learning platforms, experience learning and sharing, where we share best practices. In other words, what is it that works? What made you more effective in the Zeble Dam? How did you mobilize the communities? How did you enhance the sustainability mechanisms in the management of the dam? So that is one level. The second level by which we are involved is that government in itself also engages the community, the direct beneficiaries themselves. And they contribute towards telling government that this is the way it works in this our area. In other words, it's domesticated.
Domesticated, yeah.
Because we have worked with the communities to build that kind of confidence in their social capital, to look within their environment, and then to see what works, indigenizing farming and cultural practices. Otherwise, you bring what works somewhere, and what you may know is that within where you are bringing it, it does not work. So there's the need for adaptation, there's need for those practices to be improved and made amenable to the existing environmental conditions, to the existing cultural practices of the people. It is then that you can benefit significantly from the interventions that you bring. And so, yes, government learns from us. The only challenge has been for some of the intervention, you expect that the involvement or the engagement should be a little more active.
Yeah.
More than what...
Engagement from your side to government or from government side to you?
Yes, you know, like I said earlier on, government has more responsibility for the engagement. One, because it controls the resources. It has more resources than we do. Our donors support us, but government has more resources. And so it can expand that. So you expect that government should more and more engage us, and not only ActionAid, but like similar development-oriented organizations that are implementing, piloting various best practices on the ground that can bring about social change.
So that was just an example of a developmental situation I picked it concerning the Bagri Dam.
Yes.
But there are a number of them. Because of time, I cannot really, go so much into it. We have a school feeding program currently to develop education, and definitely going to benefit the girl child because they're very much interested in the woman's development. We have planting for food and job. That's a government policy.
Yes.
We have, maybe I'll say government priority programs are also in the area of your interest, and you will ensure that it's being done. We have LEAP.
Yep.
And LEAP for now is on hold, isn't it?
Yeah, LEAP is on. Government is considering, you remember when we went into some form of financial challenges as a country, the government, through most of the policy actors, noted that they were going to review some other interventions by way of enhancing our financial sustainability. But as it is, we are monitoring to see how it comes out with the changes, and then we can engage those changes and make direct policy interventions towards improving what it says it will do. One other area that is quite dear to my heart, because ActionAid is a women-focused organization. We are biased towards women, and we don't have much apologies for that, because we think that that is one way of enhancing gender equity, promoting gender equality, in our social system. So one of the technical issues that is coming out from the Ministry of Education, or if you like, the education sector, is that if you look at the COVID-19 era, statistics shows that more and more women, especially the girl child, became pregnant. What that means is that for the considerable chunk of over 100,000, by the statistics, that became pregnant, we need to be able to bring out interventions that will take them back to school, because education is a right.
And pregnancy shouldn't be a punishment.
And pregnancy, women or a girl child, should under no circumstances suffer from the fact that she became pregnant. Government came out with what we call the re-entry policy, and I'm so fascinated about that policy. However, our checking on the ground does point to the fact that awareness around the re-entry policy is quite limited. For example, yesterday, my team worked in the Gas South, and it was surprising to note that in the training that we intervened to support, increase awareness around the policy, most of the head teachers said they have not cited the re-entry policy. So if you have not seen it, how would you then work in the community or in your school to engage them? So when they come, we look at the human factor, the moral factor, but the policy does prescribe how you prepare the grounds to receive them back. Before that, the policy also has prescriptions in terms of how to help the girl child prevent even becoming pregnant. So this is a critical policy. And so these are some of the things that development actors will do if you don't take time.
Have because you considered which is a right for the girl to have access to sanitary pads?
Yes.
Have you considered the fact that people in the media, we've actually been fighting for that sanitary pads should be made free and given to students in school. They cannot be prevented from going to school because they're menstruating and stuff like that. Is that also part of the consideration?
Yes. You remember ActionAid has been in this country and has done a lot of rigorous work around that. And government even some time ago came out with a policy where through the girl child unit of the district education offices, sanitary pads were distributed to schools. I remember that quite vividly. But I believe financial challenges led to, the dwindling of that policy. But it remains on the table. For example, ActionAid now is exploring with some current partners to see how can we, because they are highly interested in this issue of the sanitary pads you are talking about, where they are going to come out with resources to support us, to push that agenda, make it a topical issue, make it a priority issue, create best practices, and then government can then pick it up. Like I'm saying, is our modus operandi.
So I know you have a lot of programs to do. We can't talk about all that now, but you have a lot of work on your hands now, because the economy is sort of dictating to our pace of everything we're doing. We have a critical time bomb we sit on, that's streetism, especially with the children, and we just don't see the way around it because unemployment. Poverty is on the rise. People are just getting poorer by the minute. They can't take care of the children. The children keeps pouring onto the streets. I really don't know if it's a good time for you to be a country director.
Yeah.
I mean, address that issue.
Let me tell you one secret. For me, most of the times I assume leadership has always been crisis situations.
Okay.
I remember when I was in the University of Ghana, there was a big challenge about the creation of what is now called City Campus. We used to attend that place for a number of years and then join the mainstream. The university took a decision to say, look, we want to expand access. So guys should stay there. It became a big issue, demonstration. And so the long and short of it is that I emerged as a leader and weathered the storm. And so I see this emerging as a country director at this point to be a critical challenge, which I accept the responsibility. I spoke with the board, and the board acknowledged that we have the support to be able to work around what we are envisaging to do, which is to promote what we call climate justice as a priority area and economic justice. The issues you are talking about fit into all these two critical issues. In terms of economic justice, we need to be able to promote what we call an engendered public services. Whether we like it or not, we are in a crisis situation occasioned by COVID-19, occasioned by global events, and occasioned by our own internal financial challenges. And so what that means is that it demands a lot more prudence, a lot more transparency in the utilization of government resources, a lot more focusing on progressive taxation. When we talk of progressive taxation, we are talking about a tax system where the burden of tax is fairly distributed along the taxpayers.
Heavy progressive taxation.
And so, if you look at it, what that means is that we are constantly asked a policy position that government need to focus a lot more on progressive taxation. We work through the Ghana Tax Coalition to promote that, and so on and so forth. And so the government need to look at the exigencies of the time and cut its coat according to its cloth.
So will you consider e-levy as a progressive taxation?
Yes, but if you look at e-levy, there is a lot more of indirect impact on the poor, and that's what our concerns are.
Okay.
Which is, there's the need for government to a lot more find a middle way. And that's why some of us are calling for government to increasingly find a bipartisan approach.
Even government has tried defining who falls under the poverty line by cutting it at 100 Ghana cedis.
Yes, and that is where it has been subjected to a lot of discussion and debate, but looking at it from a progressive taxation point of view, the burden hits the poor a lot more. And that's why we're calling for lowering of the threshold, or to be able to ensure that the poor are not so much affected by the tax system. And so that is the whole concept of progressive taxation. And so that is one component of it. The third level is how can government more and more find innovative ways to promote decent employment. When we talk of decent employment, it doesn't mean people like you and I only sitting in the offices, in the decency of our offices and working. We have a lot more youth that are unemployed. Some are not even educated, but they belong to the economy. They belong to the state. How is government going to focus on improving and enhancing livelihood security situations, for example, at the hard-to-reach areas? Remember, I spoke to you about the issue of dams. If we have the dams, we need to look at the agriculture value chains. And not only that, we also need, as part of the rising unemployment situation, look at how can we enhance the skills. So, for example, vocational skills. You go to engage some of the rural communities. What they are talking about, we just want to learn how to become caterers in our domestic setting and to be able to support. And so those are the critical focus. We are contributing towards enhancing, putting community people in groups, training them with artisanal skills, tiling, masonry, carpentry, and so on and so forth. That is one way to reduce the impact of unemployment in the system. Government need to broaden that, look at entrepreneurship as a major conduit towards combating unemployment, but not only that, ensuring that the ILO conventions are adhered to. We have Convention 183, for example, that talks about, the issue of maternity. We look at 189 that talks about protecting women in the maternity protection of domestic workers. So you realize that that is clearly an informal sector. And so how are they contracted? How are their rights adhered to? If you go to Makola, there are so many people carrying basins. How are they engaged?
Well, because of time, so we'll just wrap up. But let me ask you how you are going to collaborate with government in these difficult times. Because you already complained about governments, moving in a slow pace, and it doesn't look like it has changed. In fact, the government is slower, if you ask me. So how are you going to collaborate and make sure that it moves faster and we get ourselves out of this doldrum?
Yeah, so one of the, already we are collaborating with government. As I said earlier on, we share best practices with government. We have learning forums. We review government flagship programs such as the Planting for Food and Jobs, and so on and so forth. And we give feedback that is mirroring the development aspirations of the people from the ground. That is one critical area. The second area is to constantly support movements to bring about development alternatives.
What type of movements?
So, for example, we have what we call activists, a youth movement.
So fix the country?
Well, Fix the Country, we have not worked with Fix the Country, but it's a movement. And so once our objective unite at a point.
It's a movement that looks at things progressively.
Yes.
It questions government on what it does, and it calls on government to do positive stuff.
Yes.
So that should be encouraged, no?
Yes, so that should be encouraged, especially if people work within the ambit of the law. That is what we do. We train the youth and the groups to operate within the framework of the law. Everything must be done in a way that gives respect to our policies and laws of the state, and that is a critical factor. We also work with traditional authorities in a way that will ensure that within the challenges, we are proposing alternatives that would help take the country forward, because we are in a situation that there is no one size fits all. We need to contribute towards the table so that we can make impact, look at our pairs, spend within our means. Otherwise, our debt overhang will continue to be a precarious situation that will affect all of us. But let me also add that ActionAid works to achieve a vision of a Ghana which is just, equitable, where people enjoy the right of dignity. They have the right and freedom from poverty, and so on and so forth. But more particularly, we step forward as our mission to achieve social justice. You can see the way I talk with passion, working with the people. Sometimes people from the other side or the privileged group think that those on the ground that are not highly educated do not have the capacity to contribute to policy. That is false. They are able to provide alternatives within their context. And it is those type of alternatives that work. If you bring alternatives from elsewhere without customizing it domestically, it creates problems. So ActionAid looks at that as social justice. We bring everybody on board, and we are also working to achieve gender equity. I think I've spoken a lot about that and equality. And we are aspire to eradicate poverty in the long run, where we are mobilizing people's movement, communities, citizens, activists, and supporters within the Federation to enhance the livelihood security situation of people.
Before you go, let me know if anybody wants to contact ActionAid. I mean, from what we've talked about, I just thought that maybe somebody will be watching and has a movement, or is leading a movement, or has a project it wants to, start, but it doesn't know how. Does, ActionAid give room for people like that?
Yeah, fantastic. As a matter of fact, we are looking for those type of groups to see how we can build synergies.
Okay.
Because the broader the movement, the easier we can target and build capacities, expand understanding on public policies, build consensus around what works. That is why Parliament is there. We need to bring, government says we should be, the President in his inaugural address said we should be citizens and not spectators. That is just what ActionAid is doing. And we have our office located in East Legon. We have, as I said, offices located across the country. Any of such movement can contact us. The regional managers would work with them and see how we can build synergies with what we are already doing. And then our website is also there.
What's the website?
That is www.actionaidghana.
ActionAid Ghana.
Yes. Yeah,
I think because of the fraudulent activities, I wouldn't want you to put your number out.
Exactly.
The website is enough. So ActionAid Ghana will be www.actionaid.org. All together.
Yes.
All together.
Yeah. If you just even type ActionAid Ghana,
it will come up. You get the website. That's true. So you can visit the website. You can see any of our media, partners, or come to the media offices. If you're looking for ActionAid, we can lead you to them, or you can also locate their office at East Legon, right?
Yeah.
Which side of East Legon?
Yeah, towards the American House.
Towards American House. This is what time will allow us, but we'll be doing some more interactions with you because I think now we need you more than ever.
Yeah.
So
maybe let me just also thank Metro TV, management of Metro TV, and your very good self.
Thank you
for giving us this opportunity, but also more importantly, or equally importantly, to thank ActionAid. The staff have been working so hard to bring us this far. But going forward, the vision is to see how we can energize ourselves and ensure that we are tackling issues that confront the ordinary man or woman on the street on a daily basis. But more importantly, focus on women's rights and children's rights and the rights of the youth. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, too. So that's to tell you that we brought Mr. John Nko, just so you know that the challenges we're going through today, you have some sort of respite, to assist you achieve what we want to achieve because the challenges can be felt. My colleague actually said that you can actually see the economic challenge now. It used to be very something you cannot see, but now you can touch. It's tangible now. You can really feel the pain. So thank you for coming through.